Thanks for staying with us. So, our first hot topic today is about this issue that was raised in the newspapers that we just read, birth control pills. Is it the right thing to do at this time? I mean, BC read the story, which I thought was interesting, that the government is considering that we should find measures to control our population. But people like Nima have said, oh, come on, follow more. You know, and she said it repeatedly over the years that, listen, you can't be counting kids for me. I mean, it's not my children. But should we now come and have a conversation around the need, especially we had that lawmaker. Let me read his name again, just in case we've forgotten. His name is, he's actually majority leader of the House of Representatives, Al-Hassan Adogudawa, delivered of the 28th child recently. And he was actually talking about it, and it's important we discuss these things. Is how to remarry culture and what is economically expedient for a country to do. So that's really the conversation. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Should we start? Would you agree if the government says you can't have more than 2 children? Would you accept to have just 2 children?
Or 1.
If that is going to be the right thing to do or the necessary thing to do to help control the population? That's the conversation. Let's hear your thoughts. You can call us on 081-270-53687, 091-390-7694. You can also tweet to us on TVC, your view, #TVC, and also, on all the various messages on your screen. Yeah. So, you see what you want to start?
Yeah, okay, I was laughing because I was saying the Nigerian way. They'll tell you you have 2 children, then they will go ahead and have 5 and 10, and you will be holding placard like you told us to have 2. How come these government officials are having 5? Anyways, we need to look at our population and how fast it's growing. And the fact that our population is growing, you know, the population vis-a-vis our economic issues right now, economic security, you know, and just the inefficiencies of our government, because they seem to be finding it really difficult to manage this population given our limited resources. But whatever the impact will be, whatever the positive impact will be on the economy would not be in 5 or 10 years. We're talking many years down the line. So many people have already given birth. The gentleman in question has given birth to 28. So we have to find a way to make sure he does not give birth to the remaining 2 that he's looking towards. But as a country, we need to tell ourselves the truth. We have very limited resources, and we need to make sure that every child gets a good education, good housing, good health care. And the number of people we have in our country, the more we have, the less we'll be able to cater for them. That's on the one hand. The second hand is, how do we do it? We always, whenever we talk about contraception, family planning, we focus on the women. But I think if we really are serious about stopping just multiple births, we have to talk to the men. We have to start talking about male contraception. We have to start talking about male family planning. We're talking about vasectomy. We're talking about maybe like a policy. If you have more than 5 children, you cannot run for office. If you have more than 3 children, you cannot run for office. If you have more than, you will not get it. So maybe if we put it that way, because just to tell women, don't use contraception, we know of women who know how important this is. Even for their health reasons, they don't want to have more kids. But they have husbands that are saying, if I hear, do you understand? So if you put it now on the man, and I'm saying that I'm highlighting the fact that a man can decide for a woman in Nigeria whether she should have more or less, is because the way the dynamics of marriage works for majority of marriages in Nigeria is that the man is the breadwinner, the man determines, you know, everything. So he pays for everything.
Let me come to BC on this, because, I mean, she's raised quite a few issues there. Not just about us facing the reality of the situation that we are overpopulated, but how do we go about it? Someone saying we should do vasectomy. Someone saying that we should focus more on the men. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree?
So, you know, she's just highlighted the economic aspect, and that is exactly what the government is looking at. We have a teeming population of young people. Over 70% are basically young people, women, young girls within, you know, reproductive age, according to statistics, and that is really worrisome because any bakambele can enter and you just be popping it. But I want to look at it from the emotional and psychological aspect, which a lot of us ignore most of the time. I always worry, first of all, that people just churn out kids without thinking of how to guide them emotionally, how to nurture them emotionally, which is what is missing with majority of Nigerians. We do not have empathy because we did not learn empathy from our parents. It's just a few people that are becoming aware now, that are now learning how to pay attention to the needs of other people. It's just about me, 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 and that's the Nigerian mentality. That's what we see in our parastatals, that's what we see in government, that's what we see in leadership, it cuts across every sphere of life.
Even in driving,
in this country. So are you churning out these kids? Because let's talk about the elites, for instance. They have the money to take care of them and put them in best schools. But do they have the time to give them that emotional needs that these children require to nurture them? Aside from the elites, now let's go to the, the general people. You're churning out only you. You have 4, 5, 6 kids, and you're struggling to feed them. You're struggling to pay your rent. You're struggling to put them in good schools. And before you know it, at 15, 16, you're expecting your children to go out there and bring men that will give them cars, that will buy houses for them, that will do this for them, because you have failed in your responsibility as a parent to nurture these children till they get to adulthood. So it cuts across everything, and we have crime on one hand, because there are a lot of children who feel like their parents cannot take care of them. They have to start funding for themselves. I had a student in the university at the time who was learning. Thankfully, she was making hair. And she was sending money home. I think she was about 16 or 17 at the time. She had the responsibility as a child to still be fending for her parents back home. So it's not about just churning kids. What sort of mindset do you have that you can just pop, because you are fertile, you can just pop it out and God will take care of them. God will handle them. We need to start working on that. Okay. When it comes to the population, I believe that we could have policies. I believe that we could actually have policies. I think one of these countries did it.
China did it.
Anything can work when we are ready for it to work. Simple.
Okay, let me come to Nima. Nima, what are your thoughts? Do you because I know that, culturally, yes, we want to uphold our culture and our belief system, but the truth is that, how do we marry? How do we marry culture, and what is required as a country?
So I spoke recently, I think last year, 2020, at an event. A law firm organizes this event. It was huge. Myself, Abike Dabiri, and the UN representative in Africa. And I did not speak in support of just irresponsibly bringing children. So I cannot sit here and be African now. But the truth is... No, but in Africa, truly. And because those days, parents planned for their children. It was, modernization that brought about, because of that cultural belief, you see government over the years reflect what we believe. Government never planned along the numbers. We just had the numbers. If you had serious governments planning along the numbers, all the census that they were doing, the birth registrations that they were having, if they counted for anything, we would be better off today. Every government subsequently never planned along the numbers. So we have numbers up north, underutilized, that that presently being taken advantage of by every form of criminality that we can excuse. We call them different names, terrorism and all of that. And there are large numbers that we didn't work with. If we had worked with them, probably we'll be where other countries are. That strength of our numbers will show. Aside the marketability that people see in them and bringing stuff here, we'll be able to produce with that number and send out. So I'm not in support of birthing children anyhow, but in the situation where a person caters for their children from birth till death on their own, do you then want to regulate what you don't control? Our public schools, governments, they just have schools, they don't have the numbers, they don't know what they're doing with them. If I'm a rich person, I'm an MK or Abiola, and I have 4 wives, of course I'm going to have children, and I have provided for those children till I die, till when they get to adulthood. So how do you want to regulate what you don't control, what you don't work with, what does not really bother you when you're sitting on the decision table? If you make policies today, just like Miriam said, the policy makers are the ones who break the rules. They'll say, no, 2 children only, but they have 5 children, and then you start to see exceptions and exceptions and exceptions. Take care of them. So I'm not...
I think most of the big nations of the world, they work with numbers. China, the US. So population could actually work in our favor. The problem is that we don't have the economic strength and
Readiness.
to
show it up.
to even reflect, to use or utilize these numbers that we have. But my question to you, ladies, and I'll take this after the break. If your husband says he wants to have a vasectomy, would you allow him?
After we've had children.
As in right now?
Yes, right now.
When we come back, answer.
We don't finish now.
Oh, you're good.
Oh, you want born again? We don't born finish now.
Oh, okay. I didn't think it was that easy.
It's so easy.
Let's go on a break. We'll be right
But
back.
you should ask the men.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
So staying with us, we're still discussing this issue of birth control, but not from the side of the women. But there's a young man yesterday or 2 days ago put it online that he just had a vasectomy, that he doesn't plan to have children. And we're linking that to what the President Buhari was saying, that we must consider this issue of reducing population. We want to focus on this issue of vasectomy. If a husband, and I asked the ladies for the break that, if now you've had your kids, and your husband says, okay, let me support Buhari, let me just be part of this movement. And all the men are saying, okay, let's all get a vasectomy, just to encourage men that, listen, we must stop this exponential growth of our population. Nima, would you allow your husband to go for that procedure?
Okay, I'm not disallowing him, but I would not encourage him.
Okay.
So if any of such was to be done, it will be done free will.
Right.
If he chooses that, okay, this is the decision I'm taking for myself, and he knows the consequence, for him is okay. I would love, if I wanted to put a stop to childbirth, do it on myself. Everybody's right to the decision on their body or procedures done on their body is theirs, as long as they are sane and conscious. So if it is his decision, I would not stop him if I am done having children. And if it is my decision when I'm done having children, I would not like him to interfere in it, whatever the reasons are for me. So I won't stop him, but I would not disallow him if he
I don't understand the semantics.
No, you know, some women will say, okay, we're done
try it.
having children, but I don't want to touch my body, so you go do something. No, I won't do that. I won't instruct and say, it has to be you. Once I am done having children, I say to my husband, I think I've had enough children and I want to keep my body, because what is Islamic is that my health, that's the basis.
But there's a Nigerian or African way, like, listen, we can never know these things. May we never have any bad accident and that happen. Yes, today we have 5 children, but God forbid something happens. You know, somebody travels and God forbid the whole family is wiped out. You feel like, oh my goodness, I've tied my tubes, I've removed my ovaries, I've had a vasectomy, I can't have any more children. Life happens to people, and that's the fear people have in not taking those kind of decisions.
So we had a relative back in one of these eastern states. And then I think the husband at the time was working in this big oil company. I think it was Shell or Chevron. I'm not sure right now. They had 4 kids. And the man was still asking the woman was still asking to have 2 more, to make it 6. They had money. So she just felt, I want to have these children. The man said, lie. In fact, the 4th one said was a battle. He wanted to take it out. The woman said, it's against my faith. I can't take it out. And so after how many years, this airline, Soliso crash,
I remember that story.
now took 2 of the kids. And it was remaining 2. And the man now came back. Then the lady was way in her 50s. And I said, can we try? I wish you had... You know, and then it was a battle. She said, lie, I begged you. I said I wanted extra. You said no. Now we are going to manage this too. And it became a real family issue. The man was vexing. You have to. He said, no, at my age, I can't even do that anymore. So, but the thing is, when this sort of thing happens, what will happen will happen. What if you had the 6 and all the 6 traveled at the same time and it happened? Yeah. So you have had the children, just move on.
So there's also something about children is that a child does not replace a child. A child, an individual child is an individual. No other child can replace a child. In fact, what you just said reminded me of a story I read on the toilet seat this morning. A lady who, her first pregnancy, she had 8 babies. She was pregnant with 8 babies.
At once.
But she lost them in her 26th week of pregnancy. And they said even though she went ahead, the story came out because she had just passed on from cancer in her 50s. They said even though she went on to have 3 more children, she was just never the same woman. She said she spent about an hour or so just watching as each child came out stillborn. Each child came out, and that thing affected her for the rest of her life. You cannot replace a child for a child. So to say that have so much so that when something happens to you, that child is an individual, nothing can replace it. So that's a different, you know, it's a different conversation altogether. It's important that, you know, loss, this story, for me, this is more about losses. We have, for me, the policies or the conversations really should be about strengthening this economy, our country, so that these children that we bring in, this country can take them. They can be a positive. What's the word I'm looking for? Yes, productive. Yes, productive in society. When we talk about the reason why we talk about Nigerian population in such a way that we talk about it like negatively is because when they come, when we have these children, they're doing nothing. Yeah, nothing. They're idle. There's nothing that they're doing. But if we say that, if we look at the countries, if we say that most of our young children in this age, they're all in IT and they're doing something, or they're all in manufacturing, or they're all in, you know, producing one thing or the other, we will not be talking about the negative effect of population. We'll be talking about how it is enriching our economy.
Let me take Dr. Moyo. Dr. Moyo, are you there?
Happy weekend.
Happy weekend to you too.
Yes, I think this issue of birth control borders on culture. You are trying to touch culture, which is a very difficult issue in Africa. So I think health education and enlightenment will go a long way in curbing children. For example, my grandfather had 30 children. That's my maternal grandfather. The same thing too with my paternal grandfather. He had about 20-something children. So, and in those kind of cultures, they felt that the more number of children you have, that's what you show that you're a man. That was what their ego bright in them. But so now that kind of person, a child from that kind of environment, you need a lot of education and enlightenment to convince him that this thing, it's for economic reasons and for health reasons too, on the woman. Have a nice day, man.
Thank you, Dr. Moyo.
So I wanted to say that, you know, to deal with the loss of children is not something that you generally feel the same way. It's peculiar. For some people, the replacement of the loss helps. For me, when it happened to me, I thought it was something I could not deal with. But today, every time I see the next baby, I completely, it's only when I'm giving advice or in a very worst moment that I remember the loss of that child that I didn't have. So for some people, that replacement works. For some, it's easy. But there's this saying, just like Dr. Moyo said in Africa, in my own place, they say, oh, yeah, rebu. When a person has a secondary infertility, you know, and the person is yearning for a child, when that child comes, most of the time in my place in Auchi, they'll say, oh, you're able to give that child. We need children to remain, to keep the lineage. So it's beyond economics. That's why government must reflect the society. You must reflect the way people think. Our government have failed over the years to turn these numbers that our fathers... in the old days, when our ancestors, let me even go far because it's far down, I started to have plenty of children. In my own family, if you hear... they were kidnapping children. And so people started to make sure that this lineage would not be wiped out by the things that were existing at the time. And then later it became the trend of farming. You needed your own children to map your territories. When your child grows up, you send your child to one side of the farm to start a family and you know to keep. So we're growing, we're evolving, picking laws and picking policies from Europe to come and reflect Africa. And that's the clash that we have today. If we had worked with the numbers that we had and the way we were having those numbers, the strength of our region at the time, the farming strength, probably by now we'll have those complex problems that Professor Magalu talks about.
For this topic. Good morning, Boma. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You're live. Go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. You're live. Boma, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Very clearly.
Okay. So I'm a first-time caller. I'm calling
Welcome to the show.
So the issue of overpopulation, you know, we cannot underestimate it. The problem with population in this country first is religion. Parents give birth to children that they cannot take care of. Hello? I said the issue of overpopulation is tied to religion.
parents give birth to children that they cannot take care of, and they will say God will take care of them. In Abuja, where I live, you go to the market, you see all these boys, young boys from different parts of the north. They don't have any job. They are just carrying barrow, and they feed by carrying barrow. Nobody is caring for them. Some of them live on uncompleted buildings. Some of them live on the road, and they are living at the mercy of other people. So when we put away this culture of religion, God will take care of us and plan our family. It will be better for the country.
Fantastic. Thank you. We're going to go on a break. We're going to come back to continue the conversation, because I remember even the beggars on the streets, they're constantly pregnant. They're constantly having children. They always just have babies, and that is part of the problem. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still talking about how you hold yourself. Some of us are culprits on this table because we have more than the average amount. But how do we take this issue of controlling our population seriously? Not from the part of government, we the people, talking to ourselves.
Yes. So I think we first of all have to take responsibility. So while I'll come back to the government a bit, because they have a larger role to play, if you know that your capacities can give you so number of children, have that number of children and ensure that you take care of them. That's where the responsibility comes in. But if you look at it in the global scale, most of these top economies like China, Russia, Japan, India, Brazil, they have huge populations that they have been able to use for their own benefit. So they found ways to use the strength that they have for their economy. Imagine if the 70% of youths they were talking about, 40% were billionaires in this country. Imagine the sort of economy that we will be building. But because we have not been able to use the strength that we have, we see it as a problem. So this is where the individual person will now look and say, okay, in the middle class, I'm earning so and so. If I look at the systems that the government has provided, quality education, quality healthcare, good roads and this, I think with my salary and other things that I'm doing, I may be able to raise 3 children. And you focus on that 3. Then we now start looking at those ones on the streets who are just churning out children to re-educate them on the need to have as much as they can cater for, and also find a way, because most of these people use that as a form of entertainment. You know, when you don't have money, that thing is just will be hungering you all the time, because that's the only way. Yeah, for the big men, you can afford to go to clubs, you can afford to take trips, you can afford to do any form of entertainment that you can. But for a very poor man who is just
that's the only entertainment.
That's the only entertainment. You're
kidding me.
If you just catch somebody, you can just have it a few minutes and you're good. So we now find a way to channel that drive for entertainment to something else, make them a bit more productive so that they have less time to think about just
churning out from children. Ireland. Tokwe, are you there, Odukwe? Hello?
Hello?
Good morning, you're live.
Good morning, Morayo. Good morning, Alifa, the entire crew. I'm calling for the first time, even though
welcome to the show.
Well done, well done. You're really doing great.
Thank you.
The topic this morning is a very sensitive topic. Even many people will not know it's sensitive. It's good to be able to take care of the children you have. Monitor and raise the children. But what about God is the only one that gives children? You must remember, some people are looking for the fruit of the womb, and they never got it. Believe me, I don't know why this program is coming today. But you see, in my early life, I've got 2 boys. And I thought, oh, no, they're okay. 2 boys is okay for me. I'm okay. I can't take more than that because I need to have the children I can take care of. But ladies, when the second one clocked 7, minor sickness then in Nigeria, he died. I'm left with 1. When I told God I don't want children again, what if I have removed my womb then or I've done something drastic? Then it took about years again before I could get another child, actually. Believe me, it is the death of that boy that took me away from Nigeria. Just to relocate. And I'm here now abroad for over 23 years, just to relocate for a few months. But thank God,
After that boy now, I've got twins. And in my late 40s, I have another boy again.
Wow.
Which is 11 years old now. His twins are 22. But believe me, this program, today, that boy that died, today's supposed to be his birthday. It's supposed to be birthday 1 today. But as a mother, I'm still feeling people that have got 3 children after that. I still misses him. I still wish somebody is going to, some people supposed to be calling me today. So happy birthday to him. Nobody's calling me to wish me happy birthday. But I remember I had a child today 21 years ago.
What was his name?
So, only God knows.
What was it?
Miriam asked what was his name.
And assist us. Hello?
Miriam was asking what was his name.
Pardon?
Miriam asked what was his name.
The name of the child.
I'm sorry, it's raining everything.
It's okay. But thank you so much, Dupe, for calling. We appreciate your call. Happy birthday to your late son. I mean, that's what I wanted to say. Really touching.
But you see, for people it works differently. So for her, even with the birth of the other children, she couldn't be on the birthday. So but it would have been worse if she didn't have more. You know, she said that, you know,
Maybe
because she had said she was done. But Dolapo had sent something to our WhatsApp group about countries that are doing that have huge population that are doing well. He said the US, China, Russia, Japan, India, and Brazil. India, yes. India. I wanted to pick India out of the group.
I mean India.
So India was like us. They didn't plan with their numbers for a long time. And so they had a huge population, and they were in the indices of world's most poverty, whatever country, world's most clinical, whatever country. And you saw their government start up. They turned that narrative around to positive, and they have what they're doing with their population right now. They are the world's destination for medicine, for medical hospitality. They are the world's destination for vaccines. Even all of us were waiting for them to donate vaccine during the COVID. They've turned that number around. We can do the same.
Yes.
We have a culture where children mean a lot. In Europe, some countries, even the people by their ways of life, don't want too many children. They don't want to be shouting, sit down, stand up. They don't want it. But for us here, it's a lonely life for a mother if they don't have children. Most people here don't accept the fact that they can't have children. Yesterday, when we read about the young man who did vasectomy on himself, it sounded strange. Some of us a DTD. We believe that he's under a spell. It's not looking normal. It's not in our ways of life. We love the population. Our government must learn to proud with that number. Those countries that are now promoting birth control, China and US, they've used the population already. They are now at a stage where they can say
let me take Olumide. Olumide, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to look at it from a completely different perspective. Can you hear me?
Very clearly. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I want to look at it from a different perspective. Now, the population is growing, but God has created land. The land remains the same. The more we grow, the more the competition for space for individuals. So we should take that into cognizance that the space is not growing. Today, if 4 people are competing for a space, tomorrow it could be 8, and that would make it more difficult. So it's good we control our population. I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about the future.
Right.
In future. So with the earlier we start, the better.
Thank you very much, Olumide. I think we're going to wrap up on this, but I think generally we agree that, yes, it's important for us to take cognizance of our economic realities. At the same time, don't give birth to children you can't afford. Because I know life always, but just like our caller, Mutukwe said, life happens to you. Yes, you have planned for only 2 children or 3 children. And then something happens, either you lose your job, you can't afford them. You know, you had 5, you're a rich man. You had 5 kids because you can afford it. But then your business crumbled, everything went down, and then you have 5 kids, you can't pay their school fees. You're not looking for one brother or somebody to come and can you help me, you know? So life happens. So regardless of how, even if you can afford it, just be planning properly and ensure that these children are well.
Let me quickly chip in something. There's this thing somebody told me recently, and it's been ringing in my head. He said, have the number of children that if anything happens to you or to anybody around you or your spouse, you can pick them and run with. It's easy. Just pick them. Born with you if you carry. So if it happens now and, okay, it's only me and these children, there are 3. carry one for back, carry one, I can go. If I add another one, I don't know if I can.
Yes, but also, even though it's a personal problem, a family issue, a family decision, it also impacts largely on our population and our community and other families as well. I just quickly went to India, because when we were saying India had turned this population around, they still have issues of overpopulation.
Yeah.
But one of the ways that they have helped to reduce, they're actually working on reducing population, reducing the increase in population. So they're talking about more men are getting vasectomies, more women are getting contraception. So 48% of their women are actually getting contraception. About 300,000 of their men in recent times are getting vasectomies. So
very quickly,
okay, we have to wrap up. Yes, 1 minute.
You know, for countries that, you know, they're trying to control population without necessarily planning. We don't want to end up with a larger percentage of older generation, no youth. They must plan, you know, the birth control. We don't want to have a situation where the younger generation has lesser in number.
Our problem.
No, it might be.
We have to run. That's all we can take.
Years.
That's all we can take from this topic. When we come back, we'll move on to another topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.